Hi, everybody. This is Jessica Lahore, kind of, sort of, and I'm here with Ask Lahore. This is my 34th video for Ask Lahore for the year 2016, and yes, I'm back here as Boy Jessica. Surprise! With my raccoon eyes and my groggy voice because I'm getting sick. And yeah, I'm really excited to do this. I didn't think that I'd be back here as a boy on Ask Lahore, my YouTube channel, but I think I'm gonna pop up every now and then to give my opinion. Yeah, like I said, this is my 34th Ask Lahore, and this is also my challenge day 154. So I started this challenge. If you follow me on Facebook, I did a daily challenge up until around December-ish. And then I kind of toned it back and I tried to utilize what that challenge was. So I did them every single day. I still thought about what I was challenging myself to do every single day. But I took it in a different approach where when I really was feeling at an all-time low of not being able to hold myself accountable, or I had so many different feelings or so many different thought processes going through in my head, that's when I would be more public about it. Not for necessarily, it wasn't for the attention necessarily, it was the point of being accountable. So when you put something out into the world, it allows you to be accountable for what you say you're going to do, how you're going to act. In no way am I trying to be the victim or woe is me or gain that kind of attention, but sometimes you need that accountability from the world. By putting something out into the world, you can only hope to gain back that 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 accountability, like I'm saying. And so this is going to be my challenge day 154. Also, Ask Lahore 34. So I did Jessica's year in review. Now we're going to do Boy Jessica's year in review and talk about some of the things in my life that I've gone through. 2016 has been an incredibly difficult year. Incredibly difficult year, not only in the world and in so many different people's lives. Personally, and from my own experiences, this was just a very difficult year for me. Trying to think back to all the way back to January and what had happened this year is phenomenal in a lot of ways. Even hearing other people's stories about the struggles that they've gone through and overcome. And so that's really what I want this video to encompass is to talk about some of those difficulties that people may go through, that I may go through, or anything like that, and end it on the positive note of you made it through the year. And that regardless of how bad things seem in that time, there's always there's always a positive end. Like, I'm still here, I'm still got through the year, there's so much more to come, there's still so much time left to be able to do things. And even though in that moment you may think that everything is done and you can't continue, or this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to you and you don't know how you're going to move on, it gets better, as everybody's been saying to me and I've been trying to believe. And so I want to give a trigger warning because this is the student affairs side of me, that some of the things I'm going to mention, I'm going to be just really blunt and vulnerable and talk about my experiences and my story. In no way am I trying to connect them to other people's stories. In no way am I trying to encourage comments or people to feel obligated to say anything in response necessarily. This is just for me to put out into the world what my year has been like. But it is a trigger warning, so I might be touching on some things from mental illness to self-harm to education issues with coming out, a bunch of different topics. So even though I might seem casual about it, it's just a coping mechanism to get through what I think is important, especially now that I realize this year about vulnerability versus strength and versus bottling up everything, and I'll touch on that as well. So there's your trigger warning if you don't feel comfortable watching. Let's talk about the year. So starting off the year, a year ago today, and it's funny because I just got my hair cut and I was getting it cut by Valerie Shears. A year ago today, I was living with the Shears family. So Lala, Amber, and Valerie Shears. And it was probably that was literally the first time that I had ever paid rent, because I went to CSU and I lived on campus. And so that was my first experience paying rent and living with other people that I considered family, my best friends. And it really helped me grow up. The idea of contributing to a household, to cleaning, having my own space, even if it was a small space, having my own space, being able to come and go as I please without judgment, getting ready, um, being myself because they knew the boy side of me was really positive. Every winter break, they kick everybody off campus because I lived on campus for my job. They kicked everybody off campus. One winter, I lived with my sister. One winter before that, I lived in my car, and the winter before that, I lived with my family, my parents, which was awful. um, and I didn't want to burden my sister with that. I also wanted new experiences, and so worked out to be able to live with the Shears, and that really set my year up for success. I found a group of really good, that I consider best friends, not only in the drag world but in the boy world, that supported and loved me, and on a daily basis, because I was in this deep depression at the time, made me feel valued and important in my life. And so that's really where I remember this starting for me. Starting all of this, even though every single day was still a struggle, I woke up to smiles in the house and people that wanted to hang out with me and be around me and do things with me. And when I was feeling down, they indirectly were helping me pick me up and make me feel good about myself. And not that they were very direct about it, but it just happened. It just happened by being around them. And so that's kind of where Boy Jessica started off, all in the area in January. Some other life changing things that happened. I fell into another big depression last semester. So education for me was really difficult. I went to school for 5 years. I remember every single semester falling into this very deep, very dark depression because school is just not the setting that I want to learn in. When I struggle with something and when I feel like a failure, it is very triggering for me. And so I remember struggling with education, especially trying to graduate that May. There was so much pressure. The semester before that, I was very fortunate to be given a second chance in some of my courses. And then again, struggling again, it got to the point where I just gave up. I gave up and I couldn't do it, and I didn't know what to do, and I was too ashamed to go and seek help and talk to anybody, while trying to balance the drag world, which was really difficult, while trying to hide everything, while living an hour away, while trying to balance a relationship at the time too. Everything just contributed negatively to my health, or to my health, to me mentally, everything, to where I shut down, and I ended up pushing away so many important people in my life, that I'm very fortunate to have back in my life. But that idea that I'm not worth the education and things like that, as hard as I would try, it didn't work out. Long story short with that, I just remember that as being a really key point of this year for me, because I hurt people. I would be purposely aggressive with people that I love because I had so much hate for myself that the more I was rude or standoffish or aggressive with somebody, I was almost in the back of my head planning for them to leave anyway. So I was trying to make it easier for them by being that way, which is not healthy, and things have definitely changed. But that mindset of just not being good enough was so deep and so thick in my head and in my everyday practices that ruined so many friendships. It ruined my relationship. It destroyed so many different things and became toxic. That was another thing, is that I got into a relationship for the first time in 5 years, at the beginning of the year, right at the beginning of the year. It lasted through May, and it was an incredible relationship, but it was also very difficult between distance and school and different points in lives. It became toxic, and between all the shit that was going on in my head, it destroyed that. And that was really pivotal for me too, because I'm so picky in particular, and so against the idea of hooking up, because I went through that phase many years ago, that to let somebody into my life in that capacity was very new and very different for me in my adult life, to have a relationship like that, and being over 21 and things like that. And so I remember that will always be a very important aspect of this year. Moving forward, graduating almost didn't happen. With all the struggles that I've gone through, I had to take one summer course. The point is, and the success part of that is, I did graduate. I did make it through And although school is still not for me, I'm very happy that I at least have that accomplishment. I learned so many things business wise that I use and are applicable to what I do in drag and how I interact with people. And I treat drag in a sense like a business, as a hobby, as a job, and it's just something overall that I love to do. But there's so many things I'm thankful for in the business world that I learned at CSU that contributed to what I use in the drag world. But there's so much that I just hated about going to school. I really did school for the extracurriculars, for doing stuff with on-campus living, drama, theater, French club, and things like that. Just a bunch of different stuff that I wanted to be involved in rather than my academics. That's just how I feel about it. And that was graduating was one of the most successful things ever for me. And I will never go back to school. So that's a huge point in my life. I feel like this year, as much as I want to talk about positives and things that I've positively done, there's a lot of negatives that I have to talk about first. And I think it's important to talk about and be vulnerable about those negatives to recognize the accomplishments that I'm going through. So let's just jump. This video has no order. This is really something that I wanted to do as a part 3 to coming out a while ago, but I didn't think it was appropriate. But I still want to put it out into the world because I'm very proud of myself and I want to keep that accountability a thing. And so my challenge day, so the 154 days, is my challenge of getting over an eating disorder. Struggling the last 5 years with an extreme body dysmorphia. And it's still a daily struggle, but it's so much better. Something simple as being scared to sleep in my underwear or something like that is TMI as that might sound, and being just disgusted with myself on a constant basis and changing small things in my lifestyle. And this challenge has been so accountable. Held me accountable. It's been 154 days of eating healthier and more consistent, cutting out bad toxins like diet pills and laxatives and things that are completely unnecessary for your body, and stop binding your stomach and other types of eating disorder habits. It's been 154 days of forcing myself to look into the mirror and say that you're beautiful, even if I don't agree with it or believe it. And it's something that I encourage anybody that is going through struggles like that to really sit down and decide what you want and what is going to control you in life. Because when you go through it for 5 years, 1 year, a week, whatever you're going through, doesn't matter what anybody else says. You have to make different changes and fight those demons for yourself. And it took one slap in the face by my really good friend David to say, you have to make a decision if you're going to let this control your life. And it's been 154 days of small changes, of accepting a compliment, or looking in the mirror and saying that I'm beautiful or something like that, or sleeping in my underwear, or just doing little things like getting my eyebrows done for me because I feel worth it, or whatever that is. Find your self-worth wherever it is. And I can tell you that and working out, so replacing the idea of the diet pills with working out and finding new, more healthy ways. And I'm so proud of myself for 154 days, and hopefully way more, and I think about it every day, about accepting myself and my body and my skin and being who I am, because I think it's important, and I'm not going to let them control. And even on the worst days, I'm going to be strong or reach out to somebody that I'm really close to and say, hey, I need some support today because I just can't do it. And there have been many days where I've wanted to resort back to those bad habits. And so this is an accomplishment for me, because that got in the way so drastically that it was damaging mentally, emotionally, physically. It was health-wise, it was just not good. But 154 days, not bad, of learning to love myself. And so I hope that if anybody else is struggling with this, that you find an outlet, or you really truly make the decision to not care what other people think, and to find the beauty that is you. And that's a daily struggle, 154 days later, and I'm still struggling with that. But that's a huge key part of this year here in 2016 for me. Another really big part is that I came out to my family. Something I never thought that I did. I know this is also recent, and even though my mom is already coming around, I saw my mom today for the first time since I came out, and although there's a weird uncomfortness, it was comforting to have conversation with her and to hug her, and she wanted to know about Jessica and come to a show. Although things are not positive with my father still, and that's fine, it's not a big deal, everybody else in my family has been so warm and positive and so nice, and that's really all that matters. And so I'm very happy to be out and not be afraid of me to the drag world or vice versa, or not be fearful that things are going to happen, because I'm just going to be doing me. This year I feel like I did a lot of growing up. I got an apartment for the first time. Well, I rented a room. It's like subletting a room, but it's an apartment to me. So the last 5 years I lived on campus at CSU, in a dorm, residence hall. For those of you that know that I hate the word dorm, residence hall. It's a very depressing space after 5 years. Very lonely, depressing, secluded, isolated space that drives you into a sense of madness because you're constantly there in this small room. And so to have my own space and my own living area, and to feel like I'm paying for something that I'm working toward, is incredible. And that's a huge accomplishment for me this year. Another really pivotal point in my life that kind of started before the 154 days is that I have to really be thankful for the fact that I'm here. With everything that was going on with my health and with these bad habits, and I took my breakup extremely hard, to the point where it became very toxic on another end, because I fell in love and it was not reciprocated. And so dealing with that was another big thing this year, and figuring out how can I love somebody so much and not have them love me back is something that I learned just a week ago. And the phrase of learning to let somebody go because you love them so much, regardless of if it's hurting you or hurting them, because it became a more toxic environment, because my feelings kept getting in the way and I couldn't solve that. But that mixed with the eating stuff and all the stuff with my family and just being overstressed and overworked and overtired, I broke one day, and I got to the darkest place of my entire life, and it was the only time in my life that I've never understood people. I've helped many friends come down from a dark place of taking their life and thinking about of that being an option. And it made me feel very hypocritical, which made me feel even worse to be in that situation and understand in my own experience what was happening, but to be so destroyed to the point where that was my outlet. I am so blessed and thankful for Bella, Chris, and Mia that night for being there with me, and that really showed me not only what true friendship is, and that there are people there that do care about me, but it really made me think about why I was in that position and why I was even considering that, and that I will never want to be there again. And so what does that mean? That means that how do you value your own life a lot more, and why, and that slap in the face of what are you going to let control you to get to that point, because everybody is so valuable. Everybody's life is so valuable and so important. At least there's one person, and I applied the same thing I say to the drag world to my boy world. As long as there's one person that cares about me, that should be enough. And it shouldn't be the people that I'm trying to impress to care about me, because that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to have some people care about you for you. And I did a lot of growing up in the last 6 months of being me and doing videos like this and Ask LaHorse and posting those challenges because I wanted to do me. And I was sick of trying to impress people or trying to hide how I was feeling or my emotions or anything like that, and put them on the back burner. And I said how I felt. I'm saying how I feel. I'm being genuine about it. I don't care if people don't take it the right way, because I don't have to explain anything to anybody as long as I'm trying to learn to find my happiness. And so that was a big part of my learning process this year. And so as a boy, This year has been the most back and forth roller coaster of a year. It has been the most difficult year for me. And when I think about the accomplishments, my challenge, what I'm capable of doing on a daily basis, the fact that I deleted all dating apps in the world back in June, July, because I found them to be toxic and detrimental to my self-health, and I didn't want to find love or partnership or even sex that way. That I came out to my family, that I'm able to be this comfortable as a boy, even though I'm really uncomfortable, and post something live on Facebook or on YouTube as me like this. The fact that I find vulnerability attractive and it is a strength, that I don't fear crying, because I almost feel like it is more stronger to cry, and it is stronger to be vulnerable, because it takes a lot of guts. Because I have grown up in the sense that I am learning who I am and what I want, and the practices that I want to continue in my life, and how I want people to treat me, and I'm discovered so much this year, and it's still a discovering process and a growth process. And a lot of you might be saying, why was this video necessary? And it's not necessary for you at all. It's not necessary for anybody that's out there. It's necessary for me, because I never in a million years thought that I would be able to talk about my experiences with an eating disorder, depression, anxiety, falling in love, like actual love, coming out to my family, going through financial struggle, being hospitalized, anything like that, almost committing suicide, anything like this, if it weren't for the steps that I've taken in the last 154 days. Because I wanted change, because I wanted a new routine in my life. And I encourage anybody that's going through these demons, any demon, whether they're similar to mine and you resonate to something that I'm saying, that you take a stand and you find whether you're going to be the victim and you're going to let them control you, or you're going to take control and you're going to make changes, whether they're small, whether you announce them, whether you do it for you, whether you just don't do it for anybody else. So I'm doing this video, I'm doing it for me. It feels so good to talk about my experiences this year, and to close out 2016 knowing that I have come personally so far, and such a huge jump within the last 154 days. And I just want to thank you all, for those of you that know me out of drag, and those of you that have supported me and appreciated me and all of that. That means a lot. For those of you that were there when I wasn't able to be me, or stuck through the awful times, or became my best friend when I was crazy. I'm still crazy. Whatever it was. It helped. It helped me learn to love who I am, and I'm learning and practicing and trying to discover what self-love is, because, like RuPaul says, and I do take this very seriously, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Thank you all for watching my last Ask a Lahore for 2016. Stay tuned for more other videos for YouTube from Jessica Lahore. And I hope that you all have a very, very happy new year, and that you can focus on accomplishments, positivity, love, compassion, self-love, self-acceptance, respect, appreciation for others, the little things, the big things, whatever you can look forward to in the future. Let go of regret, let go of things that you've been holding on to, and just learn to love unconditionally the people around you, because time is too short, and every single day counts, because you never know what is going to happen. So much love from Jessica Lahore. Bye.